Welcome to another episode of The Solution. And of course, my name is Yemisi, and this is where we talk about the solution to various issues in the country. Today we're talking about technology, and I have here the 7th CEO of 8 Global Telecoms, Mr. Victor Iromara. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you, Yemi, for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you. Let's go straight to the point. Why tech? What inspired you to start up a tech company in Nigeria?
Thank you for this question. It's quite an interesting question. So I am a telecommunication engineer by profession.
Okay.
So by training, I am a telecommunication engineer. Now, what made me delve into the sector I'm in currently, which is internet service provision? So I'll tell you a short story, right? So when I was in school, I read a story about a boy called Williams in Malawi. There's actually a film about him on Netflix, the boy who harnessed the wind.
Okay.
What struck me the most about that boy was he was able to save his community from starvation by building a windmill. And how did he do this? He built a windmill from just looking at the textbook in his local library. So what struck my mind was, if this boy could have so much impact from just reading the textbook in his local library to save his whole community from starvation, what can a child do with access to the internet? So as I tell my team at work, I tell them, the African Nobel Prize winner of the future needs the internet now. Now, on our phones, we have infinite knowledge. There's no telling how big and how vast the information is on the internet or on the globe. So for us as a company, why I entered tech was to enable the African child, enable the African man, enable the African people access the world globally.
That's quite something. How has your experience been so far as a young tech guy? You're young, and it's Nigeria, right? Nigeria, and starting a business is quite a little bit not easy.
Yeah.
So how has it been? How has your experience been as a young tech expert in Nigeria?
Thank you. You know what you say, right? There's no place like Nigeria. Right, Nigeria has its own perks. It has its own, our diversity, and every single thing that makes Nigeria is what it is. In a scale of 1 to 10, in terms of difficulty, I would say 6, right, or 7 rather. In terms of how interesting the market has been, I would say 9. Why am I saying this? So access to capital. I'm in one of the most capital-intensive sectors in Nigeria, telecommunication. From day zero, it's money. So access to capital has been a bit of a challenge for a young company like ours. But in terms of how well Nigeria has embraced our product, it's been very wholesome. For a young company, we've had to do biddings. We've had to do bids with some other big companies, and I've won those bids.
I was about to ask, how do you cope with the other big guys in the industry?
So the interesting thing about the market is, Nigerian market is very big. So I'm going to speak a lot about my sector because I have a lot of knowledge in it. Now, unknown to a lot of people, Nigeria is the 6th largest internet user market in the world. Nigeria has about 151 million users. This is NCC records. So
in the world?
Yes. Nigeria is the 6th largest internet market in the world.
I just learned something.
Yeah. So we have 151 unique users in Nigeria. Now, this is a very large market. By this, I mean people would want to go with this. So how large the market is has given us a large, playing room to compete with the big players. I won't say we're competing per se, but then we're also solving the same problem they're solving. Mm-hmm. Now, as a company, we're probably unique because we're very customer centric. Secondly, we are reliable 100% and very, very, very affordable. So we have the metrics we use to play into the market. People usually have their preference, but again, the large market has given us some playing room to more like compete, as you said, with the MNOs. Yeah.
Okay, so people refer to tech as the new oil and gas.
Yes.
Do you think the Nigerian government is seeing this as an opportunity to, venture into technology to probably make the country a better place in the near future?
This is a very interesting question. Technology is one thing I'm very passionate about. Okay. If you go on the Forbes list, the top 10 guys, you can pick just a few guys that are not into pure tech. The Jeff Bezos, the Bill Gates, Larry Page, Sergey Brin, the Google guys, Mark Zuckerberg, Larry Ellison of Oracle. These are like really big tech companies. And when you look at their revenue yearly, it's almost as high as our GDP as a country. And these are companies, local companies in America, doing so well. Now, is Nigeria doing much to embrace technology in Africa, in Nigeria? I wouldn't say yes. Why? You can see a few examples of what happened in Lagos a few years ago with a few bike-hailing organizations, the GoCarder, and I don't know if I can call names, the GoCarder and the Max.com. These were great companies that brought in a lot of capital to this country, solved a very major problem in Lagos with traffic and ease of movement. The government abruptly stopped those businesses. I don't know if they gave them a week's notice or I don't know what happened in between this, but it crippled the business overnight. Now, these are millions of families, millions of people that were out of business. Now,
would that have been because probably the government have done their homework on probably the company and they just feel like it's best for them to just not function in Nigeria? These
were companies, as I said, right? Every technology solution, right, has something at its core, and that is ease of use, right? Ease of doing business, ease of livelihood.
And to remind you, that company is actually not a Nigerian company.
Yeah, they are.
So what if the Nigerian government is actually giving an opportunity for young Nigerians to start up something like that,
well,
bring it back home?
So the bigger picture here is, whether it's a foreign company or a local company, what's most important are two things: the people that work in those companies and the revenue, the IGR, internal generated revenue from these companies. Now, the Lagos State would not tell me that these companies don't pay taxes locally and to the federal government. The second is the employment ratio, right? How many of the locals do we have in these companies? Now, this is just one sector. Let's move into the oil and gas, right? Companies, the EU, I'm not very sure about the statistics, but the EU has said by 2030, I'm not sure about the UK, by 2030, right, they're moving from normal petroleum cars to full green cars. Now, this is the European Union, right, the United States, and many other countries in Europe and America, right, embracing the green, culture, where we're trying to save our planet and move forward. Meanwhile, in our country, right, the NPC recently just acquired some shares in a particular refinery and are trying to revive other refineries. Now, my take on this is, I don't think we're very, very aware of how fast the petroleum or the oil and gas sector will fizzle away. Now, what drives every sector is demand and supply. So if you have supply and there isn't any demand, you have no one to sell to. And for a country that is largely dependent on oil and gas to survive in terms of our GDP and internal generated revenue, it spells doom, because we have no idea who we'll be selling our oils to. Because technology, as we can see, is moving at the speed of light. An example is how much our phones have transformed from what it was before to now. By just 10 years ago, 11 years ago, we all had the Blackberries, right? In the space of 5 years, the Android and the smartphones, the Apple phones have taken over. The same thing has happened. There's a huge revolution in the automobile industry, which is a large consumer of our oil and gas. So in a few years from now, I see Nigeria not doing so well in terms of our sales on oil and gas, and it spills down. And it calls for us as a country to embrace technology a lot more. Why? Last year, COVID came. Economies that were technologically driven had a bit of a way to solve these problems, right? Yeah. We had a boost, logistics businesses, our sector, the telecommunication sector, held up. So when it comes to evolution, right, COVID has given everyone a major take home that technology is here to stay, and any economy that is not embracing this trend would have a whole lot of trouble in the coming years.
Thank you, Mr. Victor. Let's go on a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back on the show. We have the CEO 8 Global Telecoms here with me, talking about technology and its role in Nigeria as a country. Mr. Victor, how important is the role of technology in Nigeria's future and growth as a nation?
I think it's as important as the air that we breathe. tech has come to stay, right? It's a no-brainer the impact it would have in our future. Why am I saying this? Basically every sector has a touch of technology, or even it's technologically driven. I can give a lot of examples. The first is communications. Second is oil and gas. Sometimes the guys at the rigs rely on each other to communicate. Logistics, aviation. So when it comes to the future of our country, for us to be technologically advanced is something we need to really embrace. High oil, producing countries in the Middle East are all trying to move from the, local oil and gas production they have to high technology. So in our future, I think it's embedded in how far and how fast we can grow. So it's a no-brainer how big we can get in the future. And also tech should be an intrinsic part of our lives as a country. So when it comes to, I feel like there's no future without technology.
Would you say agriculture is more important than technology, given the fact that Nigeria is probably more invested in agriculture than technology?
I can't pick one over the other because there's something called agri-tech, right? There's a whole lot of technology in agriculture now. There are greenhouses, I see people doing soilless farming and all of that. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to technology, I wouldn't say, I couldn't take it out of the other, right? We have to eat, and alongside that, very amazing countries, very amazing research partners and groups have found a way to, use technology to improve plant growth, from pesticides to how the performance of a particular crop grows and all of that. So yeah, I wouldn't pick one over the other. I think they're the same thing, if I can say that, because people have infused technology into agriculture. So it's the same. It's one of the other. Same. How do I say it? Different sides of the same coin.
Okay, so you would, what would you tell the Nigerian government in terms of agriculture and technology and infusing it into each other? Do you think they are actually really taking that as a bold step in agriculture, in the agricultural sector?
I don't think the government is doing so much in the agri-tech sector.
Okay.
I see a lot. The progress we've made as a country has been largely dependent on individuals making the big moves. So as the government, if I'm looking at Nigeria now in terms of the government, I don't think the government is doing so much in the agri-tech sector. Are individuals in the agri-tech sector doing so well? Amazing. I have a friend that is doing so well in the agri-tech sector, express all, they're doing amazing things in the agri-tech sector as individuals with zero government backing. So as a country, no, we're not. As a people, individuals, I think we're doing so well in the agri-tech sector.
So how would you rate Nigeria in terms of technology?
I'll say 4.
Why?
Now, in terms of government awareness and what was the word to use? In terms of government awareness and eagerness to apply technology into our day-to-day lives, I would say 4. In terms of embrace, we as a people wanting to embrace technology, I would say 7, right? We have our moms and our dads now all on social media, right? It's every morning WhatsApp BC comes in. So as a people, we're embracing technology. Is the government doing so much to help guys in the tech sector or the technological sector of Nigeria? I would say no. So 4 for the government, 7 or 8 for.
Talking about developing countries, which Nigeria is one of them, how would you compare Nigeria in terms of technology with, I'm not saying developed countries, I'm saying developing countries right now with Nigeria? Like, how would you compare Nigeria's eagerness to embrace technology with the developing countries?
It's a very interesting question. I think when it comes to Africa, right, Nigeria is in the forefront of that innovation, of that change. An example is we have a couple of companies in Lagos that have attained unicorn status. Unicorn status are companies that are valued at $1 billion. We have Jumia, we have Flutterwave recently, and recently Kuda just raised some money. They're valued about $500 million. And I saw on Nairametrics that Kuda is now the 7th or 6th most valuable bank in Nigeria. So when it comes to the question you just asked, I think we are on a fast track. If the government can do a whole lot more, I think in no time we would be where we should be as a country in terms of technology.
So what would you advise the government to do in general about technology?
Thank you for this question. So, what builds a country, right, are two things. The first is the policies that we have as a country. The second is human resource. So, my advice to the government would be two things. First, we need to have great policies that are tech enabled, that are tech friendly. That's the word, right? We need to have policies that are tech friendly. We need to have ways of mitigating problems or have ways of advancing problems using technology. The second is we need to have the right people in certain sectors. The first is the communication sector, the technological sector, and any other sector that has a bit, in fact, basically every sector. I wouldn't even say a particular sector. Basically every sector. We need to have the right people in these places. So the first thing the government can do, as I said, we need to have the right policies. But the thing is, policies don't make themselves. People make policies. So we need to have the right people that understand that technology is a very technology is the future of any country, right? So if we're going to go far as a nation, as a people, we need to embrace technology a lot faster than we are, right? Second is the people who elect in office, the people that occupy these positions, individual CEOs, and whichever person that's found himself in the technological sector, we need to make sure that we have policies from our local companies, from our local governments that are tech friendly.
A lot of people would rather travel out, to exploit the other opportunities out there and also give their services out to other countries. Why Nigeria? Why are you here? And I think you've been out of the country, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you know what's there, you know what's here. So why did you choose to come to Nigeria to start up this business?
No place like Nigeria, right? Mm-hmm. And most people might share a different view, but then home is home. And you saw what happened recently with I think it was the finals they played, England versus Italy, right? And a few black players lost the penalty, and there were a whole lot of racial abuse that ran on and on and on and on and on. And a lady did a very careful documentary, more like a video, and she ended with, "I am only British." She was a black lady, actually. Mm-hmm. She ended with, "I am only British on the passport." So that stuck in my mind. No matter how valuable you are in any country, you'll always be a foreigner there. You might be treated less. And for that singular fact, and for the singular fact that my roots are tied here, it makes me want to make Nigeria work. Why? Every single economy that we have seen all over the world, starting with America, had individuals that were resilient in its, restructuring and building. So thankfully we have a few guys in the technological sector doing so well. I'm very impressed with the guys in Lagos, the Pace Stack, Flutter, Wave, Kuta Bank, PiggyVest. These are amazing companies that are doing so well and trying to change the narrative that we have as a company. For me personally, I'm very passionate about Nigeria because this is the only place I can call home. For that singular fact, my father is Nigerian, my mother is Nigerian, my sister is Nigerian. I have cousins, nephews, basically a lot of people that are Nigerians. So it is not just for me, right? It's for the fact that I have my roots tied here, and for the fact that I'm always going to be called a Nigerian. It's enough reason for me to be here. So this is me doing so well because I am part of this place. I'm doing it for me, I'm doing it for our country. Why? Because we need to change the narrative Africa as a whole has.
Thank you so much, Mr. Victor. What would you advise the younger ones out there?
When we beat we guys rugged. You have to. Nigeria is a very unique place, as I started with, right? Your resilience has to be beyond the normal, right? When you're pushing and the tides are coming back at you, you have to be very resilient. The second is you need to know your markets. You need to be sure what you're doing. I'm not a fan of everyone has to be an entrepreneur, right? You can be very influential, you can be a huge contributor to the sector you're in, working for somebody. If you feel you have the energy and you have the resilience to be on your own and run a business, that's fine. So you need to be resilient based on the fact you're in Nigeria. You need to be very, very trendy. You need to know what's ahead of you. And I'm going to end with this. You need to know your competitors and your indirect competitors.
Okay.
And yeah, just wake up every day. And for the singular fact, as I said earlier, that we need our country to work, is enough reason for you to want to cause a change.
As a patriotic Nigerian.
Obviously.
That was insightful. Thank you so much, Mr. Victor.
Thank you for having me here.
Joining us on the solution.
Yeah.
That was Mr. Victor, the 7th CEO of 8 Global Telecoms. And this is the solution. My name still remains Yemisi. See you next week. Thank you.